I'm Graham Elwood, and welcome to the Church of the Dark Knight. Today I want to talk about an article that came out last April 2016 in Bloomberg, and its title is Wind and Solar Are Crushing Fossil Fuels. Record clean energy investment outpaces gas and coal 2-1. So this also kind of ties into the two-part video I did about Trump and Putin and the carbon bubble, and this will kind of give you some information as how America could be, all these, we could be restoring all of these factory jobs or manufacturing jobs with wind and solar, because and this also goes into what I've talked about voting with your dollars, meaning companies you invest in or spend your money with, and how another way to just sort of either override Trump or circumvent him is just money talks. And America has always been about money. Slavery was about money. Everything in this country was about money. Japanese internment camps were about taking the land and property away and businesses away from Japanese people. It's always about money in America. Never, ever, 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 ever forget that. So I'm going to read you a little bit of this article that was written by Tom Randall, April 6, 2016. Wind and solar have grown seemingly unstoppable, while 2 years of crashing prices for oil, natural gas, and coal triggered dramatic downsizing in those industries. Renewables have been thriving. Real quick, so some new information has come out because oil prices have been so low. OPEC, which is basically the Saudis, and some other countries, including Russia, have decided to cut production of oil to drive the prices back up. Good time to get an electric car. And Trump, whose cabinet is all filled with climate change deniers, as I pointed out in the Trump-Putin videos, which is why this is relevant. This is very relevant. Clean energy investment broke new records in 2015 and is now seeing twice as much global funding as fossil fuels. And again, globally, talking about 2015, I mentioned this before, China in 2015 spent $111 billion on clean energy. I haven't seen any statistics on their 2016 numbers, but I'm sure it was close. One reason is that renewable energy is becoming ever cheaper to produce. Recent solar and wind auctions in Mexico and Morocco ended with winning bids from companies that promised to produce electricity at the cheapest rate from any source anywhere in the world, said Michael Liebrich, chairman of the advisory board for Bloomberg New Energy Finance, BNEF. Quote, "We're in a low cost of oil environment for this foreseeable future," Liebrich said during his keynote address at the BNEF summit in New York on Tuesday. Did that stop renewable energy investment? Not at all, which is good. Which is also why you're seeing oil going, uh-oh, everyone's going to clean. We got to get people back. We got to make money from oil, which I don't know how it's going to work. They painted themselves into such a corner because they're going to raise oil prices and they'll make some short-term profit, which will be good for their investors, I guess. But when average Americans are paying $4 or $5 a gallon, like get ready, $3 a gallon is coming. $3-4 a gallon, it's coming. So get ready. Like in Europe, they're already paying other parts of the world close to $10 a gallon, if not more. So renewables, basically, there's a chart here, are beating fossil fuels 2-1. And they've been doing this since 2008. So government subsidies have helped wind and solar get a foothold in global power markets, but economies of scale are the true driver of falling prices. The cost of solar power has fallen to 1/150th of its level in the 70s, while the total amount of installed solar has soared 115,000-fold. So basically, that's the thing. As solar prices fall, installations go up. It's that simple. The reason solar power generation will increasingly dominate, it's a technology, not a fuel. See, this is an interesting point here. As such, efficiency increases and prices fall as time goes on. What's more, the price of batteries to store solar power when the sun isn't shining is falling in a similarly stunning arc. This is the key point here. So oil and coal and natural gas are natural resources, meaning they will run out eventually. Wind and solar, those won't run out, and the capturing, storing, and distributing of these is all based on technology. It's just like a phone battery. How we've all seen technology it always gets smaller and faster. So as we talked about, so the big solar panels that were like, as big as this, each panel's as big as this picture frame, if not bigger. Now Elon Musk has designed these panels that are like shingle size, so you can just put them on the roof and you won't even be able to tell that they're solar panels. And then as the panels become more powerful, meaning they generate more electricity, and then as the batteries for storage become smaller, then it's just it's like everything with technology. It's exponential and will just get better and better and more cost efficient. More cost efficient, more people buy it, on down the line. But yeah, let's just keep putting money in oil. Just since 2000, the amount of global electricity produced by solar power has doubled 7 times over. Even wind power, which was already established, doubled 4 times over the same period. For the first time, the two forms of renewable energy are beginning to compete head-to-head on price and annual investment. It's basically an industry that keeps doubling in size. Meanwhile, fossil fuels have been getting killed by falling prices and, more recently, declining investment. So this is what I talked about in the other one. That is the carbon bubble. If investors, it's not when oil runs out or when coal or natural gas run out. It's when investors don't see profits down the road. So that's what the carbon industry, why climate change denying is such a big part of it's part of their marketing. Because when everybody realizes, everyone just accepts climate change is a fact, and fossil fuels are the problem, then they're going to go to the solution, and the solution will without a doubt get everybody away from fossil fuel. It'll just go. So they know this, so they got to, and this doesn't help them either. So it started with coal. It used to be that lower prices increased demand for fossil fuels, but coal prices apparently can't fall fast enough. Wow. Richard from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Richer OECD countries, which is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Not a guy named Rich. Public school guys, this is what you get. Richer OECD countries have been reducing demand for almost a decade. In China, coal power has also flattened. Only developing countries with rapidly expanding energy demands are still adding coal, though at a slowing rate. So a developing country that doesn't have, coal is cheap and can be used for power plants, obviously. And coal is obviously starting to phase out in wealthier countries first. So what does that look like on a country level basis? The world's first coal superpower, the United Kingdom, now produces less power from coal than it has since at least 1850, which is insane. Most recently, it's the oil and gas industry that's been under attack. Prices have tumbled and investments have started drying up. The number of oil rigs active in the U.S. fell last month to lowest since records began in the 1940s. Producers, from tiny frontier drillers to massive petrol-producing nation-states, are creeping ever closer to insolvency. Oh boy. You can see the panic. That's why Putin and all the oil people, that's why they had to get George Bush in there. That's why they had to get Trump in there. And Obama, I'm telling you, this is the thing that he really dropped the ball. He could have made climate change the battle cry to get manufacturing jobs in America. Like it drives me crazy. It could be so simple. Everyone in the Rust Belt, all these people that felt, betrayed by the Democrats or whatever, that ended up voting, those counties that, voted for Obama in twice, 08 and 12, then voted for Trump. had you said, hey, we're going to come into this coal mining town, we're shutting down the coal mine, and we're going to put in a plant that's going to produce wind turbines and solar panels, and the government got behind that and got companies in there, it could have, everyone would be on board. The liberal progressive ideology is better for the world. It's better for the working class person. It's better for everything. It's just the Democrats, they don't fucking do it. The Democrats are just a bumper sticker on a luxury SUV. You know what I mean? Like when someone just says support the troops on their SUV, or like I'm eco or I'm green. They're not actually doing it. Ugh, God. So going back to this guy Liebrecht from the BNEF, quote, what we're talking about is a miscalculation of risk. We're talking about a business model that is predicated on never-ending growth, a business model that is predicated on being able to find unlimited supplies of capital. And that's why they're going to raise the prices, because it'll give any of their investors that like are paying attention to this and are like, oh, wow, maybe I need to put my money in renewable because oil has been low. They're going to do this short-term thing of raising the prices, and all their investors are, oh, great, but they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. So, okay, there's a chart below showing it's about oil producers being able to pay off their debt is the issue. And the inability to pay it by some oil producers is the greatest threat to their solvency. And this guy warned, quote, it's going to get uglier, unquote. Oil and gas wells are driven less by renewables than by a mismatch of too much supply and too little demand. But with renewable energy expanding at record rates and with more efficient cars, including all electric vehicles, siphoning off oil profits at the margins, the fossil fuel insolvency zone is only going to get more crowded, according to BNEF. Natural gas will still be needed for when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, but even that will change as utility scale batteries grow cheaper. So you're asking yourself, what can I do? You know, and maybe, obviously, if you can afford like an electric car, if you could afford an alternative fuel vehicle, I think that's something you should do. But you might be sitting there going, well, I can't afford an electric car. I get that. Or you might even be saying, hey, electric cars, what do we do with these giant batteries? How are we going to dispose of them down the road? That's a very fair question. But I think right now, for me at least, getting off of oil is the best thing right now. And also not giving companies your money. And how can you do that? So, look, I don't have the money for an electric car right now. My car has 240,000 some miles on it. But one thing I do, I take public transportation as often as I can. I ride my bike. You might live where it's cold and you can't ride your bike. Even if you just leave your car home one day a week and take public transportation and drive it the whole rest of the time, you are giving less money to the oil industries, and you're saving money in wear and tear in your car. AAA puts it at something like, I don't know, about 55 cents a mile. They might have adjusted that number. That's, if you amortize all the cost of oil and everything, transmission fluid, that's what it costs to run your car, including gas, 55 cents a mile. So it's the little things. You can't go at power head on. You got to defeat them with 1,000 little cuts. And you cut away at their margin, their little profit margin here, and they notice there's a little dip here, a little dip there. They're going to do something about it. This is how you got to do it, guys. And this is great. This is great news. And this is from Bloomberg. This isn't from some hippie organization like the Sierra Club or whatever. This is from Bloomberg, man. They're all about investing. Vote with your dollars. Click the like button that's below, subscribe, and share on all your social media. The more people we get paying attention, and the more change we can make, guys. Thank you so much for watching Graham Elwood and the Church of Batman.